topic investigates what happens to the material after being carried by the 5 agents of erosion and the land formed in the process. So we're going to start here. Deposition occurs when the eroding agent, whether it be gravity, ice, water, waves, or wind, runs out of energy and can no longer carry its load of eroded material. The energy available to the erosion agents comes from gravity, or in the case of wind, the sun. While the mountain slopes are steep, there's plenty of gravitational energy available to move eroding material. Sooner or later, the glacier or river will reach more gently sloping ground, or even flat plains, and the energy that's transporting the eroded particles is reduced. It is at this stage that deposition becomes the dominant process, building up low-lying areas and creating new land. Deposition from the 5 agents of erosion will now be further investigated. So, gravity, here's an example. A landslide or mudslide usually occurs quickly with the slide coming down to a halt in a matter of minutes, leaving an area of destruction at the base of the slope affected. Landslips occur over longer time periods, with the movement often occurring over times too long for us to observe. In both cases, the transported and unstable rocks and soil are now subjected to more erosion, with rain and water once more acting to erode and further transport the deposited material. Water erosion deposits. Probably the most recognizable forms of deposition from water erosion are floodplains and river deltas. Other features of rivers, such as rocky riverbeds in mountain valleys and oxbow lakes on the plains, are also the result of deposition material. Material deposited by a river is called sediment. The type of sediment deposited is directly related to the amount of energy in the flowing water. The first sediments to be dropped by the river as it loses energy are the larger, heavier rocks, progressively followed by smaller pebbles, sand, and finally the fine silts. This is the model of that. So, like, there are smaller particles here, and then larger particles, and then the largest towards the bottom. It says this can be modeled quite easily. Mix some small stones, sand, and mud with water in a plastic container or PET soft drink bottle. Place a lid on the bottle and shake. Allow the bottle to stand and watch as the sediments settle out. Rocks first, followed by sand, and then finer and finer silts. The addition of 10 milliliter of bleach in the water will prevent fungal and algae growth in the bottle, which can be then kept for years. Ice erosion deposits. So this is water, also glaciers. Okay, the most visible deposits left by glaciers are called moraines and outwashes. Moraines tend to consist of large chunks of broken rock left at the base and sides of the glacier as it melts, receding up its valley. Finer material is carried in the rivers that form when the glacial ice melts, so like meltwater streams. The deposits of these rivers look similar to normal river deposits. These deposits are called outwashes. Glacial rivers are usually white with fine silt known as glacial milk. Wind erosion deposits. Sand dunes are the most visible product of deposition by wind, with their shape and orientation governed by the prevailing winds. Wind erosion is capable of carrying fine dust for thousands of kilometers before depositing it again when the winds die down. For example, dust originating from southern Australia and carried by a dust storm in early 2000 was found in New Zealand. Much of this precious topsoil actually landed in the Tasman Sea, lost for perhaps millions of years, maybe until tectonic movement of the Earth's crust raises this part of the ocean to form dry land again. Waves are also an agent of erosion. Waves erosion deposits. The material eroded from cliffs and shorelines is usually deposited nearby as a beach or sand on the seafloor. The cycle of erosion and deposition is an ongoing one, with beach sand building up, only to be washed away in a storm and deposited on another beach. So here are your agents of erosion. You have gravity, okay? You have water, you have ice, and you have wind, and you have waves.